Hey everyone, my name is Maika and I'm filming this video because I got into medical school. I wanted to share how I got in with my compromised A-level grades and just, you know, give some hope out there to people who didn't get amazing grades at A-level and let you know that it is still possible, and there are always ways to get into med school, and if I can do it, you can do it. I'll start off with my stats. At GCSE, I had 8 A stars and 5 A's, and then at AS I did maths, biology, chemistry and history, and I got A, B, B, C. A was in biology, the B's were in maths and history, and my C was in chemistry. So I took 3 of the subjects into A-level, which were biology, chemistry and history, and I came out with a BBC overall. Brief reason as to what happened. My biology grade dropped to a B because I basically failed one of my exams. It was the last biology exam out of the, you know, out of the 4, and that day I had a history exam in the morning and I spent more time revising for that because I struggled with history more than biology. Ended up not really revising for biology and I basically got, I think it was a U. It was terrible. I failed that exam. It was really bad. That made so all my other biology exam grades were an A. So I got 3 A's and 1 U, and because of that it dropped down to a B. My other B was in history and my C was in chemistry. I was really frustrated about the C because I had received a C in my AS exams for chemistry, which I then decided to retake in A2. So I actually ended up taking 4 exams of chemistry in A2 to try and bump up my grade, and I still got a C overall. I was so annoyed because I would always go to chemistry club and I would, you know, I did so many past papers. I tried so hard to study for it, but I never understood chemistry and it was very tragic. So yeah, I got a C overall because I got a C in AS, which I retook, and that then averaged into a B, but then my A2 exams I think were D, so it brought it back to a C. So yeah. On A-level results day I was really sad that I had received these grades, and at the time I was only holding 1 offer. It was an offer for medical genetics from Queen Mary. The reason behind that is because I applied for medicine in that year, so I'm actually a re-applicant now. Yeah, I applied then and I was rejected from 3 places pre-interview. Those places were Queen Mary, oh god, I can't even remember where I applied. I don't even know. I had 1 interview at St. George's, which I messed up because I didn't prepare properly. And then Queen Mary, after they rejected me, they just said to me, hey, we can't give you an offer for medicine, but if you want we can give you an offer for another kind of science. I think I actually got rejected by my 5th choice as well, which was a biomedical science, so I literally had nothing. And then Queen Mary said, come back, we can give you an offer, and I was like, yes please. So I went to this open day thing. It was like a mini open day, and they offered biomedical science and medical genetics and biochemistry. And obviously I wanted to do biomedical science because that was the closest thing to medicine and that would keep my options open. So I put that down as my first choice at Queen Mary, on like a little sheet of paper. It wasn't anything on UKCAT, it was just what you wanted to do. And then my second choice was medical genetics, medgen, and my third choice was something else. They allocated the offers for biomed based on predicted grades. Because my predicted grades were only AAA, I didn't get an offer for biomed, and instead I got one for medical genetics. So come results day, I only actually have 1 offer. I did not have an insurance. It was just my single offer from Queen Mary for medical genetics, which I think was ABB. I got BBC. So I opened my envelope of results, saw the BBC, basically assumed I did not get into uni, and I was really upset. And I checked UCAS anyway, just because, you know, like, you have to. So I checked it and I was fully expecting it to say, we cannot offer you a place, and I was like, okay, I need a backup plan, I'm gonna go into clearing. When I checked UCAS, Queen Mary had actually accepted me, and I could not believe it. I don't know why they accepted me. I was so many grades below what they wanted, but I wasn't complaining, and I decided, you know, I'm gonna go to Queen Mary. yeah, I just wanted to go to uni that year, and I thought it would be better than like taking a gap year and trying to reapply for medicine because my A-levels were bad. So I just thought, you know what, I'll go to uni, maybe I'll change my mind, maybe I'll find something out there that suits me more than medicine, and whatever. So I went to Queen Mary, did my degree, and basically I graduated in July 2018 with a 2-1 in medical genetics. I highly recommend medical genetics if you are interested in medicine and you want to keep your options open. When I started med gen, I did know that I think they had one graduate before, from the year before, who got into med school. But when I went into uni, I kind of lost my, you know, like I just assumed that medicine wasn't for me and it wasn't going to work out. So I really went in with an open mind, and I tried to consider all the other things I could do in science and whatever else there was. You know, I was willing to give it a chance and just see what there was, because obviously my application to medicine had been unsuccessful. So I was working part-time as well during uni, and then in the summer of second year I got an internship at a cancer institute in London that was sort of tied to my uni. So the research was tied to Queen Mary, and I found out through our sort of careers thing at Queen Mary. So I did that, so I applied for that. They, I think they had about over 30 applicants. They interviewed like 5 or 10, and they only actually picked one, and that one was me. So I was really lucky to get this to get this position at this cancer institute, and I worked there full-time for 3 months. So I basically worked from the end of second year up until the beginning of third year. And during this time I was working on clinical trials. I worked on 3 different trials, and I basically just got to understand the administration behind it and how trials work, what the ethics are, and all the people who work behind the scenes of trials, who kind of make it, you know, move along, and they decide like which hospitals we're going to approach the patients at, and all the protocols and whatnot. So that was really interesting, and I knew that, like, you know, I really loved working in this area, because I knew that everything that you do has an impact on people, and it makes their lives better. So I knew that I wanted to work in healthcare, but the admin was a bit dry for me. It was definitely a great experience, and I definitely enjoyed it, because, you know, it was something different, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll work in clinical trials instead. But then what ended up happening was that it kind of rekindled my fire for medicine and working in healthcare, because from working in this administrative side I realized that I actually much prefer the clinical side of things, and I wanted to be on that side. So after my internship I decided to apply for volunteering at Bart's Health, so Bart's Hospital, and had an interview for that. That went fine. So over my third year I basically decided, okay Maika, you're gonna consider all your options, you're gonna get some experience in third year, and then, you know, if you want to apply for medicine you can do that after you graduate, and then that'll basically give me like a gap year. So I know that most people apply for medicine at the beginning of the third year, but I didn't feel like I was ready to apply for it then. I hadn't really gotten experience. I had only had my internship, and I wanted to make sure that medicine was actually what I wanted to do, and am I going to go through the emotional toll of applying again and, you know, maybe getting rejected, because the first time round it really affected my confidence, and it was like the biggest failure, it was the biggest setback I had ever had in my life, thus far. So I knew that I was really, if I was going to apply for it at all, I wanted to like fully like put everything I had into it and apply, because this was really what I wanted. But I didn't know that at the time, and I didn't really want it that much at the time. I was just like considering it again. So didn't apply in third year, and I just spent third year, you know, doing my dissertation, doing all the coursework for my degree, and studying for exams. And then throughout this time I was also trying to get experience to, you know, see the medical field. The first time I applied, it was kind of just something I'd always wanted to do. I never really knew why I wanted to be a doctor. It was just always what I wanted to be. I think because my godmother when I was younger was a doctor, and my mom's always been like, yeah, you know, you should be a doctor, and I was like, yeah, I want to be a doctor. But I never really dig deep and found my own personal reasons for wanting to pursue medicine. And I think that's what really changed me as an applicant from the first time round to this time round, because that in the previous time I applied, I was basically just getting experience for the sake of it because I knew I had to talk about it. I loved science, I loved medicine, but I didn't love it. I was just like, yeah, you know, like I'll go to that museum and I'll watch that documentary about diseases because I like that, but there was no real fire in me and I wasn't fighting for it hard enough, which is why I didn't get in. So I'm actually really glad I didn't get in, because I've had this opportunity to really grow as a person and find my own reasons for wanting to pursue medicine, and I think that really is what set me apart this time in my application, because I knew from all the experience that I did, I knew for sure that this is really what I wanted to do. There was no doubt in me that it wasn't for me. I would talk about medicine to all my friends like all the time, and I would tell them how excited I was about the medical field and how I just love to like the idea of using all this knowledge and science and applying that to people and seeing a change in people and seeing them get better and seeing them recover and knowing that you're part of that process. And because the human body is just this amazing thing that you can learn about and blah blah blah. So I knew for sure that I wanted to do medicine, and I found this out through all my experience. So I got into third year, did volunteering at Barts. I had 2 roles in Barts Hospital. I had to start as a meter and greeter, and what that means is you're in the reception area of the hospital, you're on the ground level, and you basically greet patients and you just ask them if they need any help in terms of their like directions, because the hospital is huge, the clinics are like really awkwardly placed, and when people come into hospital they're not, you know, but they're not in the calmest mindset. What we did was just talk to them, and you know, even if you just smile at them, it makes their hospital experience that little bit more welcoming, and for them that is their experience. I can just smile at any patient that I see, but for them, they'll remember that, oh yeah, you know, when I came in, that was a really friendly person, and because of that really friendly person, like they feel more at ease when they come in. It was really, really valuable to volunteer as a meet and greeter, and I actually got to meet a lot of patients. I got to talk to them. I would see families coming in, waiting for their other family member to, you know, to get to like come out of an operation, and they would sometimes get really emotional. I saw people crying. I had a patient come up to me and joke about his the recurrence of his lung cancer, and it was just very, it was, you actually get exposed to a lot by being in the hustle and bustle of the hospital. Even though you're technically not doing much, you can learn a lot from it. So I did that in Barts Hospital. It was, well, in that trust, you were required to start off as a meet and greeter before you progress into another role. So what I really wanted to do was be a patient champion, and that's what I applied for. So after I spent a few weeks doing meet and greeting, I moved on to being a patient champion, and I was based in the chemotherapy ward. And what I did there was talk to patients who were receiving chemo and just sort of keep them company whilst they were there. The process of receiving chemo takes a really long time. It can take hours. You have to come in, and then they have to do all your checks, and then you have to wait for them to actually give you the drugs, and then the drugs take a few hours to actually get into your body, and then they have to do more checks, and then you can go home. So these patients would spend literally the whole day in hospital, and a lot of the time they were just waiting. And I think waiting is like the worst feeling that you can have when you're nervous. Because these patients were stuck in the chemotherapy ward, I would just walk around the ward, and I would sort of try and approach patients who were on their own more, or who looked like they really wanted to talk to someone. And through this role, I really learned about like patient contact and how to talk to patients. And you know, some of these patients were not the nicest patients, and I think that was also really important to know that these are the people that you'll be dealing with as a doctor, and you have to be able to work with people of different ages, different mindsets, different ethnic backgrounds, different moods of that day. And it was just like, it was nice to sort of put yourself in those shoes without actually, like, minus all the responsibilities as a doctor. So yeah, I did that, and then at this point I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I want to do medicine, but I want to be extra sure. So I reached out to my managers from my internship, because they worked alongside doctors, and I said to them, like, you know, I'm thinking of applying to medicine, and I just really want to get some experience and maybe speak to some doctors just to make sure that this is what I want to do. And they were so helpful that it's because of them that I actually got all the experience that I got now. So I had 3 managers during my internship, and I reached out to 2 of them. The first one got back to me and said that, yeah, like, you know, when you were working with us, we actually, in one of the trials we had was a consultant. He was a urologist, and he basically was willing for me to see him in surgery and watch him operate. And I was so excited because surgery is always what I wanted to do. So I was thrilled, I couldn't wait. And then we organised when that would be and how that would work. And then turns out there's a lot of ethics involved with doing that. It's really hard to you can't just like walk into an operating room. You have to really like apply, and you have to let the people know that yeah, this doctor said I could do it, and then the doctor has to sign a form and say that he agrees for you to do it. And then my other manager, she got back to me as well, and then she said that because she moved into King's College, she said that yeah, she works with this paediatric neurologist who's also willing to speak to me. So then I emailed this paediatric neurologist. We met up, and he was so nice, and we basically just sat down and we just had, well, not a drink, but he had a coffee, and then we were just talking. And I came in with my questions I wanted to ask him, but really the conversation just became like a normal conversation. And I think it was the best opportunity just to ask in an informal way, like, you know, these are the doubts that I have about medicine, and how have you found it? It just made me feel really, well, one, reassured, because all the things I asked him, he showed it in a positive light, and he basically just said that, like, yeah, med school's hard, being a doctor's hard, but if that's what you want to do, then it's worth it. And that for me was enough. So I was like, yep, okay, cool, yeah, I want to do medicine. And then he offered to let me watch him in clinic, so I went to do that. And then after that, I watched the urologist do her surgery. So he performs robotic radical prostatectomies, which means that he removes the prostate gland with a robot. I went to watch him in December, just before, it was 2 days before my King's interview. So I watched him in December, and it was so interesting. If you can get into an operating theatre, I highly recommend it. It was just amazing, and to see the fact that they were using robotics just showed how much medicine's changing, how much technology is changing, and it really gave me like a unique point to talk about in my interviews. At this point, I knew for sure that I wanted to do medicine. There were specific moments in every single experience that I had that, you know, just kept adding up, and I kept like knowing for sure, like, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do. And there's just this feeling that I always got when I volunteered. When I would go home, I would feel so good. I felt like, you know, this is really what I want to do, this is what I want to be doing with my life. And there's just nothing as satisfying as just knowing you've made a difference to someone. Seeing the transition from science into change and into patience was just so humbling. And I just knew for sure that I wanted to do medicine. So I applied on I think I set off an application on the 13th of October. The deadline is the 15th of October. Prior to this, me and my friend who was also applying, we sat down at uni, and we basically just decided to go through every single medical school that there was in the UK, put it on an Excel sheet, and you know, see which ones we could and couldn't apply to, and then narrow the list down from there. And we were going to call all of them and just ask them some questions and ask them about the average UKCAT that they take and stuff like that. So we met up and did that, and because of my A-level grades, BBC, I was actually really limited in the medical schools I could apply to. So I didn't have that many to choose from because of my C in chemistry, and I ended up applying to the 4 that I did apply to, which were King's College London, Barts and the London, Leicester and Anglia Ruskin. King's College, I rang them and I basically told them I have this degree in medical genetics, would that suffice? Because my A-level grades are not, like, they don't meet the minimum requirements. I think it was supposed to be B in chemistry, but then on the website it said that if you do a degree which has a substantial amount of biology and chemistry, then they may be able to overlook that. So I rang them up, I was on hold for 2 hours. I eventually spoke to the guy and I told him, like, these are my grades, this is the course, this is the undergrad degree that I have, would that be enough to meet your requirements? And he basically said that, he he didn't even give me like a solid answer. He was like, I mean, I think so, but you can never really be sure. And I was like, great. I applied anyway because King's was the uni I've always wanted to go to, and even when I applied the first time, I wanted to apply to King's, but I didn't because my UKCAT back then was 640 and I had band 1. So I think it was bang on average, but it was just not a very competitive school, and they prioritized the UKCAT quite a lot on the applicants, so I didn't bother applying. So the first time round I applied to Queen Mary, St George's, I think Bristol, and I genuinely can't remember, it was so long ago, and then somewhere else. So back then I really wasn't being very tactical with where I applied. I briefly looked at stuff and where I thought I'd have a chance, and I kind of just went for it. But this time round I literally made a Excel document. I had their minimum grade requirements for both like the graduate and the undergrad course. I would look at the UKCAT score that they required or whatever they said about it, and then when my friend and I were ringing them, we would enter whatever information we found out from the phone. So what we asked was stuff like, you know, last year, what was the average UKCAT score for people that you gave offers out to? What's the highest UKCAT score that you've offered? What's the lowest UKCAT score? And how many people do you take? Our graduates looked at separately to undergrads for the A100 course, stuff like that. So we basically asked them loads and loads of stuff just to make sure we really knew where we were applying so that we didn't waste an application. So we did that, edited the Excel sheet, and then I narrowed it down to those 4 choices. I forgot to talk about my UKCAT, so I did that obviously I did that in August. Yeah, I did that in August. Spent about a month studying for it. I used Medify, and I have a whole separate video on how I studied for the UKCAT and how I got a pretty competitive score. I think I was in the top 30%. I got an average of 670. I still got band 1 SJT. So I've got a video on that if you want some tips on how to do that. But yeah, so it was a pretty good score, and I knew that, you know, from the stats that they released at the end of the UKCAT sort of period, that my score was pretty good. So that's why I took my chances and I applied to King's College London. Thank God I did, because I received an interview on the 19th of November, which is my birthday, and it was the best birthday present ever. Yeah, I was so happy because it was my first choice, and I've been wanting to go there since I was like 17 years old. So I was really excited. And then I had the interview on the 5th of December, but it went really well and the people were really nice. It honestly felt like a conversation. I actually had fun, which I was really surprised about, because my first interview at St George's was like the most horrific experience of my life. It was so bad that to this day I'm scarred, and it was my first ever interview for like anything. So it just set the bar. Like I hated interviews ever since then, and I just thought I was really bad at them. But it was just that St George's one. The King's one was really nice. It felt very relaxed, and the people there they really let you speak and let you develop your own points, and you know, they would push you enough to sort of guide you in the right direction, but it was very much like they just kind of want to see who you are and see what you can talk to them about, see how you think. And then I had the Anglia Ruskin interview a week after, which was on the other end of the MMI. It was so hard. It was like such a difficult interview. It was long. They had 10 stations, which were 7 minutes each. So King's I think was only 7, and then Anglia Ruskin was 10, and it was exhausting. You have to go to each station, you have to like give it your all, and then you have like a 1 minute break. So at King's, that 1 minute break was used to actually breathe and to have a break. But at Anglia Ruskin, your break was when you would read the next task, and it was just so stressful. And the people there were I found them quite intimidating. They weren't as friendly. And I even had this one interviewer ask me about all my experience. In my head I was like, yeah, I'm going to develop a point, I'm going to use the STAR method. I would literally say one thing, and okay, and I was like, wait, what? So I would say something else, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I also did that. And he was like, okay, and I was like, seriously? So it was just very much like, give me a list. I arrived in America on the 18th of December, and I got my offer for King's College. Whoa. Which was unconditional because I've already achieved my degree, and I'm waiting to hear back from Anglia Ruskin. I've heard they get back to you at the end of February. Barts rejected me, which was really surprising because I'm a Queen Mary student. They also rejected my friends from Queen Mary, and I'm still waiting to hear back from Leicester. But basically, King's is my first choice, and I have an offer for King's, so I'm gonna firm that. The only reason I'm waiting is because I want to know if my interview with Anglia Ruskin was successful, just because I'm curious. And then even if I get interviewed at Leicester, I'm not gonna go, I'm just gonna withdraw it. But yeah, that is how I got into medical school with my A-levels. So basically, just find out really why you want to do medicine, consider all of your options, get a whole bunch of experience, not just because you know you need it, but because you should want to get it, and you should want to actually educate yourself into what it is you're putting yourself into, and you're going to put yourself through for the next 5 years if it is medicine that you want to go through. If you dig deep into why you want to do it and you believe that this is really what you want to do, then I believe that if it's meant to be, it will be. And I'm actually really glad I didn't get in the first time, because I wouldn't have this appreciation that I have for all that hard work that I put in to actually get into med school this time. So yeah, that is all that I have to say about how I got into med school. I'm due to start in September this year, and I'm going to vlog that journey, hopefully. And I am going to go to one of the offer holder days, which is coming up next month, and I will hope to try and film that because no one else has. If you're currently applying for medicine or you're waiting to hear back, then good luck to you. Don't give up, even if you don't get it. A lot of people don't get it the first time, and it's totally okay. And again, if this is something you really want to do, then you will get there eventually, and I believe in you. So good luck everyone, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!